Ladies and gentlemen, Fox News has lost, at least this round. It is very, very clear Donald Trump is coming out on top, not just with Fox News, but the rest of the media as well. You wouldn't believe the meltdown we're seeing over at MSNBC. My goodness. Welcome to the program, everyone. I am Trish Regan. This is the Trish Regan Show. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you comment, all of that great stuff. What an amazing thing this is to see. In other words, he's got Nikki Haley up on stage. He's got Ron DeSantis. It's all the people that didn't like him. And he's even got Rupert Murdoch kissing the Trump ring. We're going to talk all about it. But first, I want to show you a quick soundbite on just how bad things are for none other than President Biden right about now. Let's go to Van Jones.
A bullet couldn't stop Trump. A virus just stopped Biden. You got the nominees of this party getting their butts kissed. Biden's getting his butt kicked by his own party. The Democrats are coming apart. The Republicans are coming together.
I like this guy. I like the way he put it. You know what? Breaking right now, we have a situation where Fox News is effectively begging for forgiveness from none other than Donald Trump. It's like everyone's there begging for forgiveness all of a sudden. I guess that's what happens, you know. When someone's shot at, and they survive, you're going to have a hard time shooting them twice. Right, Rupert Murdoch? Right, everyone at Fox News? So this is what is happening as we speak. Ladies and gentlemen, Fox News is giving a big, giant wet kiss to Donald Trump in hopes that somehow they might be able to win him back. But I don't think they're going to have a ton of luck. I really don't. I want you to consider what is going on in terms of this white flag that they're waving to Donald Trump. First of all, remember who was on stage last night. Remember who the vice presidential pick for the next vice president of the United States of America and the heir apparent to MAGA, that would be J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance was not in any way, shape, or form the pick of Rupert Murdoch and Fox News. In fact, they wanted Ron DeSantis. They wanted Nikki Haley. They wanted anybody but J.D. Vance. And so Don Jr., he wanted J.D. Vance. Elon Musk, he wanted J.D. Vance. Peter Thiel, he wanted J.D. Vance, the guy who used to work for him. And Rupert Murdoch lost that battle. And he knows it. So guess what he's doing? He's showing up there at the RNC. The word on the street is there he was in the same room with none other than Tucker Carlson, whom he's also trying to kiss the ring of right about now. It's actually kind of funny. So Tucker has positioned himself so well. You know, he's right next to Trump at all of these events. The first night there he was seated in the same box with the family and Donald Trump. And so Rupert Murdoch, owner of the Wall Street Journal and Fox News, is thinking, what do I do now? Well, why not just throw a big, giant, wet kiss to Tucker Carlson? Did you guys see this article in today's Wall Street Journal? It'll be prominently featured over the weekend. We got Inside the Strange New World of Tucker Carlson. Don't let the headline fool you. This is a puff piece, as we call it in the industry. A massive puff piece on how fantastic and wonderful and cool Tucker Carlson is, living there in his cabin in the woods, way far away from everything, and yet trying to have a footprint, especially on the international scene. It's it's like 40 pages long. The reporter went up to Maine, spent 5 hours with Tucker Carlson, and came back with this masterpiece, which conveniently Rupert Murdoch decides to run, just as it's quite obvious in every way, shape, or form that he lost and Tucker won and Trump won and Rupert lost and Fox News lost. So, I wonder what we'll be seeing from the likes of Fox News. I'll tell you what, everyone who's not at Fox News and is not watching Fox News, we all just won, didn't we? Reminder, please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you share, you like, you hit the bell so you know when I'm here every single day, because you know what? It's really important right now. I'm one of those people who used to be over there on the other side, and we're streaming here and we're growing and growing because I'm here every day for you. And I'm talking the real talk, right? There's nobody going through my scripts. In fact, there are no scripts. There's no one micromanaging the words that come out of my mouth. Not that there ever were. I mean, I've been known to get myself in a few little situations, right? Because I actually tell you the truth. And I wear my heart on my sleeve. And what you see is what you get. And that's not always the case, shall we say, in most of the media which is controlled by some kind of top, big head honcho, the big boss, so to speak. I mean, Tucker and Rupert, they had their thing before, right? And don't forget, it's not just Rupert, it's the boys, it's the family, it's everyone at Fox News. And I'm not here as an apologist for Tucker. I often disagreed with him. I often still disagree with him. But you know what? Credit to him for going out on his own. I mean, he may not have had a choice. I know how that feels. But the point is, it's really good not to have any strings attached. And I get a real kick out of Rupert desperately crawling back, asking for forgiveness from Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson. The next one that he's going to kiss some you-know-what to and for would be Don Jr. This is Don Jr. singing the praises of the next potential candidate for president in 2028. We saw him on stage last night. He had me crying. I mean, it was fantastic. J.D. Vance, ladies and gentlemen. Let's watch Don Jr.
He's an incredible pick. I think he's an incredible guy with an amazing story, both in business and in life. And I think it's just going to be an incredible person to help unify this country. Incredible story and an incredible patriot. So he was not the pick, shall we say, of the establishment. He was not the pick of Rupert Murdoch, but he was the pick of Don Jr. Don Jr., who's not been allowed on Fox News, apparently, in almost a month. I mean, they squeezed him on a couple times this week because it's kind of a big news cycle, right? They kind of needed him at that point. But, you know, he actually had not been on since May. Very interesting. So there's this new puff piece, a very new puff piece. And I'd say there's something else we got to talk about. And that's the headline in the Wall Street Journal today. This is Rupert Murdoch and the Murdoch family's admission. Guess what? They lost this round. This is the headline. I want to share it with you. How Trump won back complete control of the GOP. I opened my paper and saw that this morning and thought, you know what? He did it. He did it. With Fox News against him, with the entire establishment against him, with 91 indictments against him. He did it. Really incredible. But the war goes on, okay? So the Trump family at war effectively, if you ask me, with Fox News, given what Don Jr. has been through. You got Rupert at the convention. You know, this is interesting. There's a report that CNN put out showing how Rupert and Tucker had to be in the same room at some little cocktail shindig last night. That was kind of funny. They had kind of a close encounter. Good thing you ran the puff piece, Rupert. Good thing, good thing. It's very funny. I mean, well played, Tucker Carlson. I'll give you that. Well played, Tucker. Well played, Don and Kimberly. Kimberly, don't forget, used to work there as well. Well played, Donald Trump. The question now is it a Cold War? Is it a full-on thawing out of the situation? I mean, don't forget what happened to the ratings last time. Fox News turned on Trump, and you guys noticed. And you guys came other places and went other places. You came over here, thank you very much, because you knew that you were going to get the truth. I mean, we may not have all the bells and whistles and all the music and all the stingers and all the graphics and all the, but you know what we have? Authenticity. And authenticity matters right now. There are more players in this game. Fox does not have a monopoly on things like they once did. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell, make sure you like, do all that for me. I'm here for you. Every day committed to making sure we have a chance of getting the actual truth out, because I've seen it on the other side. I've seen all of it. You know what? I've been covering this business for 20 years. I've been on the front lines of every major story, politically and economically. And I've seen all the shenanigans that go on behind the scenes. And it's why I wanted to do this and start this program and be independent and on my own for all of you guys. It's also why I started 76 Research, 76research.com with my dear friend Rob Horton. We started this because he's also been on the front lines of every major market move for the last 20 some odd years. And he's worked at big institutions running billions of dollars. And I said, Rob, you know what? It's not right for your everyday folks. They need transparency. They need real research that they can invest on. And so we created 76 Research with that in mind. You can go to 76research.com, sign up for the 76 report. You can also go to 76report.com for just $1. Code word dollar, DOLLAR. Type that in and get this. It's our gift for you right now for the month of July in honor of Independence Day, in honor of everything that's going on, for goodness sakes, and just in honor of the fact that I want in some way to be able to give back to you guys so much of what you have afforded me. So go to 76 Research, type in code word dollar, the best, most honest, most transparent research in this business. It's really important right now that you invest. I don't care if it's just $3 a day or $5 a week. Start, automate it so that it just comes right out of your account and you don't even see it. That's the best way to do it. We got lots of inflation here. The only way to combat it, I kid you not, is to take this into your own hands. So 76research.com, code word dollar at the checkout. I love how Donald Trump stuck it to Brett Baier. Remember that one? And he could keep on doing that. That's what Rupert realizes right now. The Murdochs are realizing, oh my goodness, and I was going to say we, but it wasn't we. It wasn't Fox News that created Donald Trump. Absolutely not. It was the American people that created Donald Trump or gave rise to him and allowed him and afforded him this enormous power, because he just went straight to, kind of like I'm going straight to you right now. He's like, enough with the, you know what? I can go straight to the people. And you know what? It never really been done in politics before. Think about Twitter. I mean, they had to take him off of Twitter, for goodness sakes. Very underreported story. He just showed up on Facebook again. Think about that, you guys. I mean, they just reinstated his account like a year ago, and now they just said they're going to take off some of the restrictions. Wow. But he knew there were more ways to reach people than just the traditional networks. And so it's a big wake up for all the networks. I'll tell you, we got a big wake up call going on for the Democrat Party right now, because they suddenly realized any which way you slice it, their candidate's not going to win. So he might have an off-ramp, so to speak. Joe Biden admitting in an interview with BET just hours ago that if the doctors tell him that for some medical reason he can't continue on, then maybe he will indeed be out. Oh, and then he just got that COVID diagnosis. So what does that mean? Let's look at it.
If I had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem. But I made a serious mistake in the whole debate. And look, when I originally ran, you may remember it, I said I was going to be a transitional candidate. And I thought that I'd be able to move from this, just pass it on to someone else. But I didn't anticipate things getting so divided. And quite frankly, I think the only thing age brings is a little bit of wisdom. And I think I've demonstrated that I know how to get things done for the country, in spite of the fact that we were told we couldn't get it done. But there's more to do, and I'm reluctant to walk away from that.
All right, so who's getting there? Apparently the phone call from Nancy Pelosi, coupled with, what was that? A visit from Chuck Schumer? Coupled with, well, a lot of media pressure, including the likes of Adam Schiff. Remember him? The superstar of the Schiff show, getting kind of shifty, demanding he leave. And there was that big piece in the LA Times. So between Schiff, Pelosi, and of course, Chucky boy, Chuck Schumer, you know what? He may, in fact, be struggling and not able, shall we say, to continue on. But it's a little weird, given that everybody just voted for the guy. I mean, think about that, right? They voted for Joe Biden, knowing, by the way, that, he wasn't really necessarily playing with a full deck. We showed you the video. We tried to warn you. I certainly did right here on this show, but oh no, that was somehow a bunch of cheap fakes. Listen, the American people see through all this. There was just an article that crossed in The Economist, and I'm going to read you this headline, guys, because it says a lot. I tweeted it out. Here it is. The Trump shooting has made a mockery of the Secret Service. You bet it has, but I'll go further. It's not just a mockery of the Secret Service. It's a mockery of the entire Biden administration. The entire Biden administration, which I'm sorry, any which way you slice it, they weren't willing to give RFK Jr. the support he needed so he could campaign. I think in this investigation that's coming forward, we're going to probably learn that they were not willing in any way, shape, or form to also give Donald Trump what he needed in order to properly compete, in order to properly campaign. And that indeed is quite a problem. You know, Van Jones put it quite well. And I think this is what the Democrat Party is now reckoning with, saying CNN, it's basically over. Watch.
A bullet couldn't stop Trump. A virus just stopped Biden. You got the nominees of this party getting their butts kissed. Biden's getting his butt kicked by his own party. The Democrats are coming apart. The Republicans are coming together.
Imagine that. The Republicans are coming together. Like I said, you know what? Rupert Murdoch lost. He admits it. He's got a giant wet kiss to Tucker Carlson, as well as Donald Trump in the Wall Street Journal. So they're coming together. You know, take what you want out of it, whether you believe it or not, right? They're at least making the appearance of coming together. Nikki Haley making the appearance of supporting Donald Trump. Rupert Murdoch doing the exact same thing. So they're coming together when the Democrats are increasingly being torn apart. Torn apart. I mean, it's getting bad. I mean, Fox News has its issues, but have you seen MSNBC? MSNBC actually pulling Joe and Mika off the air on Monday because probably the big bosses decided it's really not appropriate to have a couple of people that are so wedded to the idea of Joe Biden that they have continually, almost consecutively, every single day, every single hour, every single minute they're on television, attacked Donald Trump with whatever they could, saying some pretty heinous things in the process. Well, guess what? Brian Roberts got the memo to Caesar Conde, the guy who actually is the president of NBC News, and they pulled these two off the air. These two were not very happy. There's a full-on meltdown going on at NBC. CNN gladly reporting on it, checking out their note that they wrote last night. Let's read what CNN had to say. Meltdown at MSNBC. Staffers at MSNBC are not so happy with NBC News Group. That's according to reports out Wednesday from The Wrap and the Daily Beast, both of whom reported that in the wake of the inexplicable benching of Morning Joe, employees inside 30 Rock are vexed and alarmed by the decision made by Caesar Conde and his team. Quote, there's a level of disgust in the company I have never seen before. Oh, they're freaking out. They're freaking out. And let me just say, knowing how these things work, I think the two people in that picture right now, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you. Give us 5 stars and a great review. We love you for it. If you're watching on YouTube, reminder, thumbs up, share, like all that good stuff. But what's fascinating is the two people in the picture, I think, had a line in, shall we say, to Daily Beast and to The Wrap so that they could report some of this out. And then they lined up their little producers and they said, okay, now you say this and you say this and you say this. And they're trying to get a message to Caesar, but they're really trying to get a message to Brian Roberts, the CEO of Comcast, who, if you ask me, is a lot more down the middle than anybody who's on air there. But they have a problem. You see, they got a bunch of crazies on the air that they have afforded all of this oxygen to, and they have allowed them to say the most heinous things about the former president of the United States and the head of the GOP ticket. So now what are they going to do? They could pull them off the air. These two had an absolute fit. They said, next time that happens, we're not coming back. Woo! Watch.
To briefly talk to our friends and viewers that watch us every day. And talk about what happened yesterday. We were told in no uncertain terms on Sunday evening that there was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels yesterday. The Today Show would be Lester Holt, other people that you worked with on Sunday, and that was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels, that we were going to stay as a network in breaking news mode throughout all day yesterday. That did not happen. We don't know why that didn't happen, or team was not given a good answer as to why that didn't happen, but it didn't happen. We were also told it was going to happen throughout the day. And I guess after there was such a strong blowback about yesterday morning, I guess they changed their plans. And so those plans changed as well. So it didn't. We've talked about it off the air. We'll talk about it on the air because we talk about everything on the air. We were very surprised. We were very disappointed. And if we had known that there wasn't going to be the one news feed from NBC News across all NBC News channels, Willie, we obviously would have been in yesterday morning.
Yeah, I was here up early on Sunday morning with NBC's coverage. Savannah and I led the coverage on Sunday in the immediate aftermath, talking to eyewitnesses, talking to officials about what happened. Obviously suited up and ready to go for yesterday morning on a big morning, and we're told that something else was going to be broadcast. So we are here today going through a lot, catching up a little bit, but we want to be here for our audience, and we know you trust us, and we have ultimate respect for you guys. So we are here today. I wish we'd been here yesterday.
Yeah, we all wish we would have been here yesterday. We still would like to figure out exactly why there wasn't that one news feed.
And I think the reason why is this show began and continues 17 years later on being the place where you can go to have the hard conversations in a civil way. And so it seemed like now more than ever is a time that we would like to be on. And I think our viewers agree with that. So we continue.
Okay. Really? You think you're having sophisticated civil conversations in a really great way? I got news for you. When you put people on like this, and I'm about to show you a soundbite from somebody who's kind of going off the deep end here. Do we have the Michael Steele soundbite, Drew, where he's kind of threading together a conspiracy theory like no other? You know, this is coming straight from, I hate to say it, but Reid Hoffman over at LinkedIn has this advisor who put out a note to quote friendly journalists, except some unfriendly journalists somehow got their hand on this. And he was entertaining this wild conspiracy theory that I don't even like to give oxygen to. But the point is MSNBC is about Putin and Trump somehow coming up with this. I mean, it's bonkers, okay? It's bonkers. But if you wonder why Brian Roberts and the head of NBC News made a decision to take Mika and Joe off the air on Monday morning because there was a belief they would be completely inappropriate and put inappropriate people on, it's because they were fearful of this. Watch.
In the Band-Aid. That's fine. Where I am at this point is it's been 3 days going on 4 since this horrific event occurred. A person lost their life, 2 have been severely injured, and yet we've not received a medical report from the hospital, nor have we received a medical report from the campaign or from the Trump organization about the extent of the damage to his ear. If he was shot by a high caliber bullet, there should probably be very little ear there. And so we'd like to know that. Is there cosmetic surgery involved? What is the prognosis for recovery? Were there stitches? What is the extent and nature of the damage to his ear? Was it caused by a bullet as opposed to, as some reports from those on the scene, other reporters, saying that it was actually shards of glass from the teleprompter itself, not the bullet? So there are a lot of questions around that ear, and yet there's been no response to that. Instead, just showing the image of the man coming into the hall with the wounded ear.
Let me jump in on that.
Politics.
Let me jump in on that, and then we'll continue. We're looking at that photo. Michael Steele is correct. While there is a certain amount of time that could be understandable for any medical scenario, the calls around the current president's medical condition, the questions around his capacity, right, are also the same questions you have in a medical event like this. Certainly, the public would want to know as much as possible about both incidents, and the Trump campaign has not been the most transparent. So I think getting medical records and briefing on that at some point would be appropriate. That's what journalists often ask.
So you got to appreciate that they're asking those questions, but nobody's asking the question about what the heck was Kim Cheadle doing by, one, robbing RFK Jr. of the appropriate Secret Service that he needed in order to campaign. Think about that. And possibly not putting the proper resources into what Donald Trump needed in order to campaign. I mean, I'm sorry, Kim. You know what? I'm sorry, Joe. And I'm sorry, Dr. Jill, who picked Kim Cheadle, by the way, because they loved all this DEI stuff she was talking about, 30% women in the USS. Right? We're going to get all these women in Secret Service. Great. And maybe we can control Kim Cheadle enough so that she won't devote all the resources. We won't give her the resources to Trump's campaign. This is an important question to be asking. Forget about the ear for 2 seconds and your wild conspiracies over on MSNBC. Find out why the heck was no one doing their job. That's what needs to be answered. And I credit Marsha Blackburn and another senator she teamed up with because they just blew everyone away by hounding down Kim Cheadle, the head of the U.S. Secret Service, picked by Dr. Jill Biden. They hounded her down on the floor there at the convention last night, and woo! Fireworks. Watch.
This is exactly what we were doing today on the call.
This was an assassination attempt. You owe the people answers. You owe President Trump.
She walks away. She's not going to answer these questions. I'm telling you guys, there's got to be a serious investigation, a very, very serious investigation. Because if nothing else, the real conspiracy here could just be pretty darn simple. Joe Biden didn't want Trump to win. So they had their 91 indictments. Nothing was working there. So why not just prevent him from campaigning by not providing the proper resources? They had a threat against him from the Iranians. They apparently told him about it on Friday. And so if they have these threats, why aren't they actually making sure that they have every team there in place, that they're doing the proper stuff? I mean, they got one job, to keep the guy alive. And for whatever reason, Kim Cheadle didn't have the right number of people, experienced people on the ground. And you know what? It may go back to none other than Mr. Mayorkas, our Homeland Security chief, who happens to be her boss. Impeach him again. Go impeach the you-know-what again, because something went down, ladies and gentlemen. Something went down. But Trump's pushing through. He's got the support of Rupert Murdoch now, for what it's worth. Take it or leave it. He's got the support of the Wall Street Journal, the Fox News. You know, they're kissing Tucker Carlson's you-know-what. And so, yes, you've got a little bit of unity for now in the Republican Party, for sure. But here's a question. What's the future like? I mean, I think that one of the reasons Donald Trump picked J.D. Vance was he realized in that moment in time when it all went down on Saturday that this movement was fragile because this movement was dependent on him. And so he needed a successor. And sure enough, he got one. That was an incredible speech last night from a man who has had an incredible success story, J.D. Vance. And, you know, I loved it when he talked about his mom and the challenges she has been through and how much his grandmother meant to him. Let's show a quick excerpt of J.D. Vance live on stage, paying tribute to his mom and looking forward to what could be for his wonderful mother, who's been through a lot, coming up on 10 years sober. Take a look.
And I'm proud to say that tonight my mom is here. 10 years clean and sober. I love you, Mom.
Incredible. And he went on to say, wouldn't it be great if it's okay with President Trump? That anniversary is coming in January. Mom, would it be okay if we had that anniversary party for all you've been through and 10 years sober in the White House in January? The crowd went wild. It was great. Listen, he did a fantastic job. He's an effective communicator. He scares the you-know-what out of the Democrats. The Democrats who actually had crazy things to say. I mean, it was an emotional speech. It was a connecting speech. I had tears. I had to walk into the kitchen. I had to walk away because it was that emotional. And yet, CNN's commentators had this to say? Are you kidding me? Let's go to Paul Begala.
So, Paul, who is David and J.D. Vance going to be campaigning against when they go to Pennsylvania next week, in a few weeks, if you happen to know?
That was artfully done, by the way, John.
Yeah, that's going to have the Republicans flummoxed right now. It has the Democrats flummoxed. But I will say, I think David summarized J.D.'s story better than J.D. did. Senator Vance last night committed the cardinal sin of a political convention. He was boring. I'm sorry. I heard all these great things. I've seen him on cable TV where he's terrific. And he won in Ohio, which is fine. It's a pretty Republican state. J.D. is just dull. I'm sorry. He just, I was ready to sort of hate watch. And he was boring. Compare that with Sarah Palin, who was not an asset at the end of the day. But she set that place. I was there. She set that place on fire. J.D., I mean, his speech was sponsored by Ambien, man. I mean, Secret Service.
Hey, listen.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, my colleague Scott Jennings said,
coffee,
so what?
Man.
So what? So
All
what?
right,
JD's
so
not going to have a Vegas.
The reason flew you in behind the scenes, they're saying stuff like that, is that's what they want you to think. They're trying to color your view of J.D. Vance, that he's not that exciting, that he's not that great. Listen, the guy's a damn gifted communicator with a heck of a hard knock story that is straight out of Central Casting. And you're going to say that? Well, the reason they're all attacking J.D. Vance right now, it's one simple reason. He is the succession of the party. He is the 2028 candidate. He is the reason why MAGA is going to live on beyond Donald Trump, and why you could be looking. I'm looking at Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I know you guys love her too. She's also in the wings, right? You've got a threat of people coming forward while the Democrat Party is in complete disarray. So what do? They go on the attack. They try and say, oh, this guy is boring. Oh, this guy is this. And then there's some really weird commentary because JD, who's married to a woman of Indian descent, by the way, like she doesn't look like him. They actually accused him of trying to race bait and I don't know, things that I don't even want to say. So we'll just let this crazy person over on MSNBC say it, because he talked about meeting this great girl who's Indian, by the way, American Indian or Indian American, and one day being buried alongside his ancestors in Eastern Kentucky. And I don't know how you get what this person got. It was actually a really sweet story about how he came from nothing. He just had a cemetery plot to his name. And this is what they take away from it? This is messed up, sick stuff.
I know that there was not the same red meat sort of blood and soil nationalism that you might hear in, I don't know, other parallel universe Republican conventions. But I do think there were some sort of Easter eggs of white nationalism in the speech. One of the things that stuck out to me was when he started talking about what America is. He said, America is not just an idea. It is a group of people with a shared history and a common future. The thing about America is that it's not a group of people with shared history. In fact, I think a lot of people would argue it's quite the opposite. It's a lot of people with different histories, different heritages.
His in-laws don't share the history.
Exactly. And that's the other piece of it. He went a long sort of a paragraph, at least, about this plot in Eastern Kentucky where his 7 or 6 generations of his family are buried. And his hope is that his wife and he are eventually laid to rest there and their kids follow them. And I sort of understand the idea of sharing the burial plot, but it also it reveals someone who believes that the history that the family should inherit, and indeed the history that should be determinative in the story of the Vance family, is the history of the Eastern Kentucky Vances, and not the Vances from San Diego, which is where his wife is from and where her Indian parents are from. But in America, it doesn't always have to be the white male lineage that trumps that defines the family history, that branch of the tree supersedes all else. And I just think the construction of this notion reveals a lot about someone who fundamentally believes in the supremacy of whiteness and masculinity. And it's couched in a sort of halcyon, revisitation of his roots, but it is actually really revealing about what he thinks matters and who America is. And that America is a place for people with a shared Western background. And that is the idea.
Did you see Joy Reid like shaking her head? Yes, yes, yes. Again, let me repeat. His wife's family is from India. Okay. His children are not little blondie blue-eyed kids, lady. Unbelievable. I mean, it really ticks me off, especially so that's one angle they're going after. And then, so somehow he's a total chauvinist pig, doesn't think that women should be able to do anything. His wife has a brilliant career. Like, she's a serious, big deal lawyer, works for am I going to get in trouble for saying this white shoe law firm because they used to wear white shoes, whatever. It's one of those fancy schmancy law firms. She works for a fancy schmancy law firm. And she clerked for Supreme Court justices. This girl is no joke, okay? And no, she doesn't look exactly like him. She has a mega career, bigger than you guys do. Bigger than, all those wannabe lawyers that are on MSNBC that went to law school just so that they could become commentators. I'm sorry, she's the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm so sick of this. This is what they're going to pull. Remember to subscribe, by the way, because you know what? Just even talking about this is quote unquote dangerous territory. You can say all that, right? You can go on MSNBC and say all that, you know what? But saying what I'm saying is somehow not allowed. Well, I've had it. And this is why I'm not at one of those big networks anymore. And I've had opportunities to go and I've turned every one of them down because I will not be told. I cannot say anything. And you know what? It's time to call this BS out in a big way. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you comment. I mean, what do you think, right? Is that okay for these people to be saying that? I think Brian Roberts, who runs Comcast, who's the CEO of Comcast, needs to get his you-know-what into the office at 30 Rock and nip this stuff in the bud. Get either real journalists who are going to try and at least present both sides, even if they have a bias one way or another, and stop with the inflammatory nonsense. I mean, the guy is just talking about his poor Kentucky roots, for goodness sakes, and how lucky he is to have made it out of an area that has really been hurt by the policies of Democrats that are willing to sell us down the river. Look, I get it. I mean, some of you know, some of you don't know. I come from a big, big Irish Catholic family in New Hampshire, and we consider ourselves pretty darn successful because my dad was one of those kids who grew up with no shoes and no coat and, walked everywhere, and they barely had food on the table. And if it wasn't for the church making sure they had a little extra clothing to wear, those 8 kids, and the church looking out for them at various times in their life, including making sure they had food, you know what? I wouldn't be here today. And that's America, a community, hopefully some kind of religion in your life, whatever it is, church, and a mom and dad at home who love you, are proud of you and care about you and know that you can do so much more. I'm going to get emotional because this is America. It's not destruction of the nuclear family. That's not who we are. It is not making people subservient on big government, waiting around for a handout from Uncle Sam. That is not who we are as Americans. It's people like JD. But you know what? JD got lucky. He got really lucky. My family got lucky. We need to make sure every kid in America is afforded an opportunity. I'm not going to guarantee any outcomes, right? That's that DEI stuff. We don't guarantee outcomes. We say if you work hard and you try, we want to make sure that you have the right opportunities to succeed. Let's facilitate that. And you got another side, another team that wants just total control over everything. Look at what they've done, ladies and gentlemen. Look at what they've done. 51 ex-spooks coming out trying to tell you a whole series of lies. The opposition research bought and paid for from Hillary Clinton's campaign designed to try and put some kind of nail in Donald Trump's coffin. And by the way, we don't have a lot of details on what went down, but if nothing else, I can tell you this, it was a failure of Joe Biden's Secret Service, a failure of Mayorkas's charge, Kim Cheadle. That was a total failure, and miraculously, somehow, some way, Donald Trump made it through. Now the Democrats know it's game over for Joe Biden. I mean, I don't think they can win with Kamala. I don't think they can win with Michelle. I don't think they can win with Gavin Newsom. I don't think they can win with anyone because people know what they represent. We've seen it with our own eyes, and we continue to watch it on the likes of MSNBC and other lefty channels. America's had enough. I've had enough. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you tell me what you think. And we're going to reconvene here, right back here tomorrow, because you know what, ladies and gentlemen, there's a big speech on the way. Are you going to be watching tonight? Donald Trump taken to the stage at the RNC. It'll be the first time that we have heard from Donald Trump since that fateful day on Saturday, July 13th. The expectation is it's going to be a brilliant speech, a speech that brings the entire country together. This will be the speech that makes Donald Trump the next president of the United States and causes complete, total, utter panic, if there wasn't already that going on, in the Democrat Party. So make sure you tune in. I'm going to be here live with you tomorrow. We'll have a full discussion about the speech that will make history. Join me on the front lines of history. We are here every day live for you. I'll see you tomorrow.